Hello. Today we're looking in the literature packet at essential question number 2, how do strategic readers create meaning from literary text? 4, what is literary text really about? And 9, what strategies and resources do readers use to figure out unknown vocabulary? We're doing a close reading of the second section from Icarus's flight. That means we're reading it 3 times. First time is to look for what the text says. Second time is to look at how the text says it. And the third time is why the text matters. So as we look at the first reading of what the text says, we are actually going to look into 2 different questions. We're going to look at providing an objective summary from the text and determining the meaning of words and phrases as they're used in the text. This ties in to the following learning targets. Number 5, create a summary of the text. Remember, the summary should focus around those elements of plot, the ones that connect directly to the conflict. And we are also in this first reading going to look to see what words we don't understand from this section. I want you to find a word that you don't understand to highlight. And we're going to look at the context clues to determine or clarify the meaning of that word using context clues. What that means in our language is to decide or clear up the meaning of words and phrases that you don't know by using the words around it in the text that helps you reason out or basically guess to the meaning of the word that you don't know. So we are going to take some time to do that in our first phase of reading. If you look after we read the section for Icarus, it says to provide your summary for question 1, and question 2 is to highlight that one word that's challenging or new to you. I want you to, in fact, look up the definition and write the definition in your answer response, but then also provide me with some quotes from the passage that would serve as clues to help you understand the meaning of the word. And those clues are context clues. Again, context meaning directly from the passage. Words that help you guess at what the definition of the word might be as it's used in context. So those 2 things are what you're going to do for your first phase of reading. In the second phase of reading, when we look at how the text says it, you're going to look at how the characters affect the plot, and you're going to look at analyzing how the setting in the story interacts with characters. This one is the one you should probably spend a bulk of your time on, and you do have 2 different questions to answer for this as you read for that second phase. So let's look at what learning target this connects to. This connects to learning target number 6, to analyze how particular elements of the story interact. There's some ways that you're going to see this. Last time we looked at this, it was how the setting affected the characters. Today we're looking at how the setting affects the characters, but also how the effect that the characters have on the plot. So we need some new little look-fors. What are we looking for when we look for answering this question? Well, first, if it's asking for the effect on the character, it's looking for you to provide an emotion, a feeling the character experiences from from the setting's effect on the character, from the plot's effect on character. If we're looking at effect on character, we need to provide an emotion when we say what that effect is. If we're looking at the effect on the plot, so say we're looking at how the characterization of a certain character affects the plot, what that means is, well, first, characterization is a specific personality trait. We had this word used in our first quiz of the year on Rogue Wave, and a lot of people misunderstood what characterization means. That means a specific personality trait that the character has. We learn about the character's personality traits through directly, sometimes it'll say it directly in the passage, or indirectly, sometimes based on how we see the character act, how others respond to them. Those kinds of things can indirectly give us an idea of a character trait that we put into our own words. So you're going to be asked how a specific personality trait of the character affects the plot. When you're asked about the effect of the plot, we need to focus on putting into words an event that connects to the conflict. So we're looking for a character trait that in fact creates an effect or influences a specific event that it's tying into the main conflict of the piece. And we're going to look at that in phase 2. When we're asked how's the setting affect, we can look at the setting as a whole, which is what we did in Rogue Wave. But you can also look at specific detail or trait about the setting. And so remember, when we look at how does the setting affect the character, we're going to look at how a specific detail or trait of the setting impacts the character's emotions. So that's how we want to look and answer phase 2 questions. That takes us to phase 3 of the reading. Phase 3 of the reading is we're reading third and final time, focusing on the why. The why is the big message, the life lesson, the theme. This ties in to learning targets number 3 and number 4 to determine a theme or central idea in the text and to analyze how that theme develops over the course of the text. This is sort of a continuation and response to yesterday's type 2, where it was asking you the same sort of question. But this time we're looking at what's emphasized in specifically the section of Icarus that I'm giving you. See if you can connect your message to what you discuss as a group on the setting's effect on characters, because you might be able to make a tie-in there. If you can, that means you're an extra superstar reader. So see if you can do that. As we're doing all of these things, we are taking the time to focus on learning targets 1 and 2, where you're going to be required to quote proof from the passage to support what you're saying to answer these questions, especially when we look for our context clues, how the setting affects the characters, as well as what the theme is. Anything we're putting into our words, like our answer to how this setting affects the characters or how the characterization impacts the plot, our answer to that is our claim. So we are going to be making claims about responses to the questions asked in phase 2 and 3 of this close reading activity. And as we develop phase 1, 2, and 3, you are going to be asked to provide quotes within your response, whether it be a specific word that is used as a context clue, or maybe a whole sentence that you think helps show a character trait or the setting of the passage. But you're going to be doing these throughout all 3 phases. So go ahead and get working.